Hello. Reports suggest that the UK is lagging behind on robotic adoption in manufacturing, and a recent Make UK analysis suggested that we've actually dropped to 12th out of the top 10 of manufacturing nations. So our subject today, growing UK manufacturing with robotic and automation, is a very important one. I'm here today with Mr. Julian Ware, who's the sales manager of ABB Robotics. Julian, if we can start, what do you see as the main trends that are driving customers to robotic automation?
Okay, let's start off with some of the trends happening right now with things like automotive and EVs. We can see that the cars are transitioning from an ICE technology to an EV technology. So there's a lot of that. The UK brands, BMW, JLR, Toyota, Nissan, are all transitioning to EV vehicles. So that's a lot of the trends within some of the industries. But then some other really important things that we see in our everyday life, and that's things like AI. I think AI is something that is becoming more and more important as trends, and I'm talking about the trend of using AI within robotic and automation applications, to be honest. And then linked to that is vision. It's very important that you have some sort of vision, and I'm talking about vision cameras, being able to identify a part, for example, before you go and pick it up, check the quality, for example, and do those things that you can do, and again do with something like a robot, where you could check the quality of something that you may get something that's better than the human eye. So there's some of the examples of some of the trends that I physically would see in the industry. There's some others that we can talk about a little bit later on as we get through.
Okay, so it's quite exciting stuff then. It's quite changing.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. Yes.
Yeah, on that side. What are you doing to attract companies that have limited or no experience of using robotics?
Fantastic question. A lot of the time, many people think programming a robot, you have to have a degree, you have to be a computer programmer, a wizard, some of those things that think that it's really hard. But what at ABB we're talking about is demystifying that whole part about programming a robot. Now, one of the things that we have is what we call wizard-based programming. We work here in Milton Keynes, we work with some of the local schools as part of their STEM program. And we've had children as young as 7 come in here and program our robots within 5 minutes. So I challenge you to program one of our robots, and I'll give you 10 minutes to show you that you can program one of our robots. To really, show you that it's not as complex as you think it is, and it's something that anybody or everybody should be able to do.
Okay, well, I'm going to take that challenge up, and we'll film that separately, and I'll get a link so that people can get to see this. But as many of you will know, my technical ability is not legendary, so that's going to be quite an interesting one. Now, in terms of robot sales, Julian, what are the most popular applications for robots?
Another great question. Now, BARA released their Q2 statistics for the first half of this year for shipments, and one of the things that we were all surprised to see is the rise of the cobot, so the collaborative robot. And I think up to Q2, the shipments were just under 200 cobots. When I think the actual numbers of totals were something like around 700 up to that first half. So when you think about that as a percentage of the whole installation of industrial applications, that a lot of them are collaborative robot applications. So when you start to drill into that data, it's food and bev type applications. Right. And again, to me, that's no surprise. When you look at things like Brexit and the things that happened in Brexit that meant there's some labour force that's no longer around that perhaps doesn't want to do some of those roles. So a lot of those big food and bev companies are looking to package equipment, package their products, and looking to deploy automation and robots to be able to do that, because it offers a very flexible way to be able to do that, and you can ramp up and ramp down as cycles go. So it may be a Christmas or it may be an Easter type thing where you can ramp up your cycle. Maybe you're making Easter eggs today, but next week it's Advent calendars. So if you imagine that bit where you can ramp up with the cycles of of what's happening in the marketplace, etc. Yeah. So
no, I think that's fantastic. So Julian, what do you think needs to be done to get more UK companies investing in robotic automation?
For me, it's fairly simple. Like, number one is some government investment. I think, I don't want to go into too much detail, but there's, that part of getting government to also sponsor UK manufacturing to be able to do that if they want to see us climbing up that table. One of the other pieces of data in the IFR talks about French. I always compare us to the French because they're our nearest neighbours. But the French, in the IFR data that's via a population that's done via 10,000 employees, they're 50% more productive than us.
Right.
Whereas I tend to struggle. We love French wine, we love French cheese, but as an industrial manufacturer, you don't really focus that you think they're a great industrial manufacturer. So it's like, well, what are they doing that's different? Well, it's the same sort of problems that they have quite a big country with a small population. So in order to get those labour forces into some of those areas, they need things like robots. So investing for them is quite key. So that's number one. I think also I talked earlier on STEM. Starting education, the robots and automation is a really exciting topic. I think that's quite important. Bringing that back into the schools. So those sort of programs that they're learning coding, but something that's real world, advice type thing.
Yeah.
I think that's quite important as well.
That's excellent. That's a really good insight, because I think what you're highlighting there is that this future is going to happen.
Yeah.
And effectively we need to get on board.
Yeah.
And make the most.
I talked about AI. Like my personal vision is you'll get to a point where the same way that we pick up our phone and say, "Hey Siri, what's the weather today?" Why couldn't we pick up our phone and say, "Hey Siri, I want to program this robot behind me, for example, to pick up that thing from position A and move it to position B?" Why can't we do that? In my vision, if we could get to that point where we take it for granted in our everyday life that we can do a lot of these things with automation. But it seems that when we step across the border and come to work, we forget all the things all the luxuries we have at home, robotic hoovers and all of these sort of things, we forget when we come across and we step into the workplace. Like, oh no, I don't want a robot to do that. Yet we have a robot hoover, we have a robot lawnmower at home, and we don't do the same at work.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting point. Thank you so much, Julian. This is a critical subject, and it is a subject that we're going to see happen, and it's really a case of encouraging us to look ahead. And yes, of course, we need the backing of authorities above us.
Yep.
As well to do that. So if you're watching this today and you'd like to explore the subject, why not contact Julian and the team at ABB Robotics? Clearly, this is going to happen. It will move forward, and obviously, as a manufacturing nation, we have a long pedigree of being successful. So clearly, robotics will play an increasing part of that. If you'd like to find out more, there'll be a QR code that you can scan to access more information, but why not make a point of contacting the team here and just find out what they can do for you. Thanks for watching, and we look forward to seeing you on our next interview.